I sat in my car, hands trembling on the steering wheel, as I replayed the words that had shattered my world just moments earlier. Through the partly open window of our living room, I had heard my wife Amanda say those crushing words to her family. "He's just a pushover." She laughed, discussing me like I was some naive fool. "He'll sign whatever I put in front of him. He won't do anything." They all agreed, planning how to take my hard-earned savings without my knowledge. 8 years of marriage, and I never truly knew her until that moment. I stayed silent, just smiled and left. But in 5 days I would show them exactly what kind of man I really was. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from, and subscribe if you want more stories about standing up for yourself when it matters most. I grew up in a middle-class household in Minnesota, with parents who instilled the value of hard work and saving for the future. After college, I moved to Boston for a promising career in software engineering. I was 27, ambitious, and ready to build a life for myself in a new city. I met Amanda at my coworker's housewarming party. She stood out immediately with her confident laugh, and the way she commanded attention in every conversation. Her dark hair framed intelligent eyes that sparked when she talked about her marketing career. When our eyes met across the room, I felt an immediate connection I couldn't ignore. "You must be Darren Jason's new developer friend," she said, extending her hand. "I'm Amanda. I've heard good things about you." Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant where we talked until the staff started cleaning up around us. I was captivated by her ambition and wit. She listened intently to my dreams of eventually starting my own consulting business, offering suggestions that showed she really understood what I wanted for my future. Our relationship blossomed quickly. We spent weekends exploring New Hampshire's hiking trails or visiting museums in Boston. During those early months, Amanda was my biggest supporter when I faced challenges at work. When I doubted myself before a major presentation, she stayed up with me all night helping me prepare. "You're more capable than you give yourself credit for," she would say. "That's what I love about you. You have so much potential." 6 months into our relationship, Amanda introduced me to her family. Her father, Frank, was a boisterous businessman with a firm handshake and scrutinizing eyes. Her mother, Judith, was polite but distant, more interested in where I worked and my family background than getting to know me personally. Her younger brother, Travis, seemed friendly enough, though he constantly deferred to his father's opinions. "So, you're in software?" Frank asked during that first dinner. "Good field. Lot of money there if you play your cards right." I noticed how their conversation frequently circled back to financial success and status. Amanda seemed different around them, more focused on impressing her father than being herself. At the time, I dismissed it as normal family dynamics. We got married a year later at a small lakeside venue in Vermont. I wanted an intimate gathering with close friends and family, and Amanda initially agreed. However, as the planning progressed, she began pushing for a more lavish affair. "Dad thinks we should book the Grand Hotel downtown," she mentioned casually one evening. "He says it makes a better impression on the guests." "But that's 3 times our budget," I pointed out. "And who are we trying to impress? I thought this was about us." She eventually compromised, but not before her family made several comments about me being too cautious with money. On our wedding day, despite these tensions, I felt certain we were starting a beautiful life together. The way Amanda looked at me as she walked down the aisle, I believed we were truly partners. The early years of our marriage were happy ones. We bought a charming colonial house in a good neighborhood. I received a promotion to senior developer at my company, while Amanda excelled in her marketing career. We discussed having children someday and continued planning for the future business we would build together. I was disciplined about saving money, putting aside a portion of every paycheck. After several years, I had accumulated approximately $175,000 in savings. Amanda knew about this money and had agreed it would be our seed funding for eventually starting our own business together. "Just think, in another year or two, we could actually do it." I told her one night over dinner. "Open our own consulting firm like we've always talked about." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Sure, babe. Maybe. Let's see where we are then." Looking back, I should have noticed the subtle changes. Amanda began spending more time with her family, having lunch with her mother twice a week, and taking calls from her father that she would step outside for. She became more critical of my overly cautious approach to our finances and career decisions. "Sometimes you have to take risks to get ahead, Darren," she would say. "My dad always says opportunity doesn't wait for people who overthink everything." I dismissed these comments as minor differences in perspective. I trusted Amanda completely and believed we wanted the same things. How wrong I was. It was a Tuesday afternoon when my world collapsed. I had been on a 3-day business trip to Chicago that ended early when our client canceled the final day of meetings. I decided to surprise Amanda by coming home without telling her. As I pulled into our driveway, I noticed her parents' Mercedes and Travis's Audi parked outside. I was about to call out when I heard laughter from the living room. I approached quietly, thinking I might surprise them all, when Amanda's voice stopped me cold. "He's just a pushover," she said, her tone dismissive and cold in a way I had never heard before. "He thinks we're saving for some business. We'll start together. But he won't even notice if I move some money around first." I froze in the hallway just out of sight of our living room. My heart pounded so loudly in my ears I was afraid they might hear it. "Are you sure about this, Amanda?" Her mother's voice was cautious. "That's a lot of money to take without discussing it with him." "Mom, I already transferred $50,000 last week and he hasn't said a word. He never checks the accounts that closely. He trusts me completely." The pride in her voice when describing how she had betrayed me made my stomach turn. "And what if he does notice?" Travis asked. "He won't do anything," Frank chimed in. "I've watched him for years. He avoids confrontation like the plague, always trying to keep everyone happy." "Exactly," Amanda agreed. "He'll sign whatever I put in front of him. By the time he realizes what's happened, the restaurant will be up and running, and we'll be making enough profit that he won't even care." "And his name won't be on any of the paperwork?" Travis asked. "Of course not." Frank laughed. "Why would we cut him in? He's not family, not really. This is our business. Amanda's just helping us access the capital we need." I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. My legs nearly gave out as I leaned against the wall. The woman I had loved and trusted for 8 years was stealing from me and plotting with her family to take even more. "I'll get him to sign the transfer papers tomorrow," Amanda continued. "I'll tell him it's for refinancing the mortgage. He never reads what he signs anyway." Their laughter echoed in my ears as I silently backed away toward the front door. I slipped out without making a sound and got back into my car. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely grip the steering wheel. I drove to a hotel 20 miles away, checked in, and collapsed on the bed. The room spun around me as I tried to process what I had heard. 8 years of marriage, and I had been living with someone who saw me as nothing more than a resource to exploit. I pulled out my phone and looked through our photos. Amanda smiling on our honeymoon in Maui. The two of us painting our first house together. Christmas mornings and anniversary dinners. Had it all been an act? Were there signs I had missed? I thought about her. Increased secrecy with her phone. The sudden interest in our finances after years of leaving the management to me. The comments about me being too cautious that had started to feel like criticism. All the pieces were falling into place, but the picture they formed was devastating. My phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. "When are you coming home tomorrow? Mom and Dad want to have us over for dinner." The casualness of her message, as if she hadn't just been plotting to steal my life savings, made my blood boil. But beneath the anger was a deeper pain. I had truly believed she loved me as much as I loved her. How could I have been so blind? I spent the night alternating between rage and grief, barely sleeping. By morning, a strange calm had settled over me. I knew what I needed to do. I returned home the next day to find Amanda in the kitchen acting completely normal. She greeted me with a kiss on the cheek as if she hadn't been betraying me for months. "How was Chicago?" she asked, not looking up from the vegetables she was chopping. "Fine," I replied, watching her carefully. "Client meetings went well." "That's great." She seemed distracted, nervous, even though she was trying to hide it. "Oh, by the way, those mortgage refinancing papers came through. Can you sign them today? The rate is really good, and they need it back by tomorrow." I noticed a folder on the counter with official-looking documents inside. The trap was set just as they had planned. "Sure," I said casually. "Let me take a look." The doorbell rang before I could open the folder. Amanda jumped slightly at the sound. "That must be Travis," she said. "He just stopped by to borrow something." Travis entered with the same fake friendliness he always showed me. "Hey Darren, good to see you, man. How was the trip?" I watched them exchange glances when they thought I wasn't looking. The silent communication between conspirators. I felt sick knowing how they had plotted behind my back, but I kept my expression neutral. "I'll take a look at these papers in my office," I said, picking up the folder. "You can just sign them now," Amanda said quickly. "It's pretty standard stuff." I smiled at her, the same smile I had given her thousands of times when I thought we were building a life together. I'll just give them a quick read first. In my home office, I opened the folder to find what appeared to be mortgage documents, but buried in the middle was an authorization to transfer $120,000 from our joint savings account to a business account. I didn't recognize. The audacity was breathtaking. I heard Amanda and Travis whispering in the kitchen. I could imagine their conversation. Is he signing it? Did he notice? Will he say anything? I walked back into the kitchen, still holding the folder. I need to think about this, I said. Let me review it tonight. The flicker of panic in Amanda's eyes was brief but unmistakable. They need it right away, Darren. The rate could change. I'll take care of it, I assured her with another smile. Then I turned and left the house, taking the folder with me. I drove straight to our bank and asked to speak with a financial advisor immediately. I explained that I needed to separate our finances and secure my remaining savings. The advisor looked concerned as I explained the situation. Your wife has already withdrawn $50,000 from your joint savings account, she confirmed after checking the records. It was processed last week. I need to prevent any further withdrawals, I said firmly. And I need documentation of all transactions for the past 6 months. By the end of that appointment, I had opened new accounts in my name, only transferred my remaining savings, and received printouts of all recent transactions. The evidence of Amanda's betrayal was there in black and white, multiple small transfers to her family members over the past 3 months, culminating in the large $50,000 withdrawal. From the bank, I went directly to an attorney, recommended by a colleague. I arrived without an appointment, but after explaining my situation, they agreed to see me immediately. We need to document everything, the attorney said after hearing my story. The unauthorized transfers, the attempt to defraud you with falsified documents, all of it. I handed over copies of the bank statements and the transfer authorization Amanda had disguised as mortgage refinancing papers. I also have text messages from my wife about these documents claiming they're for the mortgage. Good, the attorney nodded. We'll need to move quickly. I can have divorce papers ready by the end of the week. In the meantime, don't confront your wife yet. Let her wonder what's happening. That was the beginning of 5 days of careful planning and documentation. I returned home that evening and acted as normally as possible, though I slept in the guest room claiming a backache from the long drive. Amanda grew increasingly nervous as each day passed without me signing the papers or mentioning the money. She called her parents multiple times, always speaking in hushed tones behind closed doors. I pretended not to notice, all while gathering more evidence. I installed a small recording device in our living room, legally documenting conversations where Amanda mentioned moving money without my knowledge. I recovered deleted emails from our shared computer showing communications with contractors for a restaurant build-out. I even found preliminary business plans for the Montgomery family restaurant that listed only her parents and brother as owners. Each piece of evidence was another nail in the coffin of our marriage, and another tool I would use to protect myself. The pushover they thought they knew was gone, replaced by a man determined to stand up for himself. On the 5th day, with all my preparations complete and the divorce papers in hand, I was ready for the confrontation they never saw coming. I chose a Saturday morning for the confrontation, knowing Amanda's family would be available to rush over when things exploded, as I was certain they would. I had arranged for my attorney to be on standby, and had a friend waiting nearby in case things got out of hand. Amanda was in the kitchen, making coffee when I came downstairs, with a folder containing all the evidence I had gathered, along with the divorce papers. We need to talk, I said, my voice calm and steady. She turned, looking wary, but still maintaining her innocent act. About what? About the $50,000 you stole from our joint account last week. About the additional $120,000 you tried to trick me into signing over. About your family's restaurant plans that somehow forgot to include me. The color drained from her face. She gripped the counter for support. Darren, I can explain. Please do, I said, laying out the bank statements on the kitchen table. Explain these transfers to your parents and brother over the last 3 months. Explain this. I pulled out the document she had tried to get me to sign. This isn't mortgage refinancing. This is theft. Amanda. It was just a loan to help my family start a business, she stammered. I was going to tell you once everything was set up. It was going to be a surprise. A surprise, where my name appears nowhere on the business documents, I asked. placing the business plan I had found on the table. A surprise where your family laughs about me being a pushover who won't do anything when he discovers he's been robbed. Her eyes widened in shock. What are you talking about? I played the recording I had made the day before where she was on the phone with Travis. He still has not signed the papers. I do not know what to do. Dad is getting angry. Yes. I know I already promised him the money. I will figure something out. Darren trusts me completely. Amanda's hands began to shake. You recorded me. You can't do that. Actually, in this state, I can record conversations I'm a party to. But that's not the point. I heard you, Amanda. Last Tuesday when I came home early, I heard everything you and your family said about me in our living room. The realization of what I was saying hit her like a physical blow. She sank into a chair, her careful facade crumbling completely. Those things I said, I did not mean them. We were just talking. About stealing my life savings. About lying to me. About using me. I kept my voice level, despite the anger and hurt churning inside me. I trusted you completely, Amanda. That was my mistake. She began to cry, but the tears didn't move me. I had seen too much of her acting ability to trust any emotional display now. What are you going to do? She asked between sobs. I placed the divorce papers on the table. I'm ending our marriage. I'm suing your family for the return of the money you've already taken. And I've reported the financial fraud to the authorities. Amanda grabbed her phone, her fingers shaking as she dialed. Dad, you need to come over right now. Darren knows everything. Within 20 minutes, her entire family had arrived, bursting into our house, with the entitled confidence of people who had never faced consequences for their actions. Frank stormed into the kitchen, first his face red with anger. What the hell do you think you're doing threatening my daughter? He demanded. I remained seated, outwardly calm despite my racing heart. I'm not threatening anyone, Frank. I'm simply holding your family accountable for attempting to defraud me of $175,000. That's ridiculous, Judith exclaimed. Amanda would never do such a thing. Wordlessly, I played another recording, this one from the day I had overheard them in the living room. Their own voices filled the kitchen, discussing how to take my money, calling me a pushover, laughing about my trust. The color drained from Frank's face. Travis looked at the floor. Judith put her hand over her mouth in shock. You can't prove anything, Frank finally said, but his voice lacked conviction. Actually, I can prove everything, I replied, gesturing to the documents spread across the table. Bank transfers with signatures that can be verified. Emails, business plans, recorded conversations. My attorney has copies of everything, as do the police. You're welcome to try to explain it all to a judge. The unified front of the Montgomery family cracked instantly. Frank turned on Amanda. You said he never checked the accounts. You said this was foolproof. Do not blame me, Amanda shouted back. This was your idea in the first place. As they turned on each other, I gathered my evidence back into the folder and stood up. I'll give you all some privacy to discuss your legal strategy. My attorney will be in touch about recovering the $50,000 plus interest and damages. I walked out of my own house that day and didn't look back. The legal process that followed was swift and decisive. The evidence was irrefutable, and Amanda's family quickly settled rather than face fraud charges. They returned the $50,000 plus interest, their restaurant plans collapsing without my capital to fund them. The divorce proceedings were equally straightforward. Despite Amanda's attempts to claim half of all our assets, the documented fraud significantly influenced the judge's rulings in my favor. I kept the house, which I promptly sold, and most of our joint assets. The aftermath was painful but clarifying. Friends took sides, with most rallying around me when they learned what had happened. My coworkers were particularly supportive, one even offering me a room in his house during the transition period. Amanda attempted reconciliation, once showing up at my new apartment with tears and apologies. I made a terrible mistake, she said. I let my family pressure me into something awful. I never stopped loving you. I looked at the woman I had once built my life around and felt nothing but pity. The problem isn't what you did, Amanda. It's who you showed yourself to be. I could never trust you again, and without trust there's nothing. She left, and I never saw her again after the divorce was finalized. I heard through mutual friends that she moved to California, her relationship with her family strained beyond repair by their mutual blame over the failed scheme. 1 year after discovering Amanda's betrayal, I was a different man. The experience had changed me, but not in the way they might have expected. Instead of becoming bitter or mistrustful, I had become more confident and decisive. I had learned to trust my instincts and set clear boundaries. I channeled my experience into creating a financial literacy program for couples focusing on transparency and communication in relationships. The program quickly gained popularity, and I found purpose in helping others avoid situations similar to mine. Through this work, I met Jessica, another financial educator, who had experienced her own betrayal in a previous relationship. We connected over our shared passion for helping others, and our understanding of the importance of honesty in relationships. "What happened to you was awful," she told me over coffee after one of my workshops. "But look at what you've created from it. You're helping so many people." Our relationship developed slowly, built on a foundation of genuine transparency. I appreciated how she respected my boundaries and never pushed for more than I was ready to give. For the first time since my divorce, I felt myself opening up to the possibility of trust again. 6 months into our relationship, an unexpected encounter tested my growth. Jessica and I were having dinner at a new restaurant downtown when I spotted Amanda's parents and brother at a table across the room. They noticed me at the same time, their expressions a mix of embarrassment and defiance. For a moment, I felt the old anger rise within me. These people had conspired to steal everything I had worked for, had laughed about betraying my trust. But as quickly as it came, the anger dissipated, replaced by a calm certainty that they no longer had any power over me or my happiness. I simply nodded in acknowledgement and returned to my conversation with Jessica. Later, as we were leaving, Frank approached me awkwardly. "Darren," he said, his eyes unable to meet mine. "I just wanted to say, well, things got out of hand. Business is business, you know." I looked at the man who had once intimidated me with his boisterous confidence, now diminished by the consequences of his actions. "No, Frank. Business is business. What you did was criminal. There's a difference." I walked away, Jessica's hand in mine, feeling the final weight of that chapter of my life lifting from my shoulders. With the money I had protected and new clarity about what I wanted from life, I finally launched my own consulting firm. I carefully selected partners who shared my values of integrity and transparency, and we built safeguards into our business structure to prevent any one person from having unchecked financial control. The business thrived, growing faster than I had dared to hope. Within 2 years, we had a team of 15 consultants and a roster of prestigious clients. The success was sweeter for knowing it was built on a foundation of honest work and mutual respect. Amanda reached out one last time, nearly 3 years after our divorce. She came to my office unannounced, looking both familiar and like a stranger. "You look good, Darren," she said hesitantly. "I heard your business is doing well." "It is," I confirmed, maintaining a professional distance. "What can I do for you, Amanda?" "I just wanted to apologize, really apologize, for everything. I've been in therapy working on myself. I understand now why I did what I did, how my family shaped my values." She paused, searching my face for a reaction. "I've changed." I believed she probably had changed, at least to some degree. People can grow from their mistakes if they're willing to face them honestly. But that didn't change our past or open a door to our future. "I hope you find happiness, Amanda," I said sincerely. "But that chapter of our lives is closed." She nodded, accepting this truth without argument. As she turned to leave, she paused at the door. "For what it's worth, you were never a pushover. You were just a good man who trusted the wrong person. I'm sorry I was that person." My journey to forgiveness wasn't instant or easy. It took time to release the anger that had initially fueled my actions. I came to understand that forgiving wasn't about excusing what Amanda and her family had done, but about freeing myself from the burden of resentment. The experience taught me invaluable lessons. Trust must be earned, not blindly given. Your instincts often recognize danger before your conscious mind acknowledges it. Standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. And perhaps most importantly, your self-respect is non-negotiable. Today, my life is richer and more authentic than I could have imagined during those dark days after discovering Amanda's betrayal. Jessica and I are building a relationship based on mutual respect and honest communication. My business continues to grow, built on the principles I now live by. I've reconnected with family and friends who truly value me. That moment when I overheard Amanda calling me a pushover could have broken me. Instead, it became the catalyst for creating a life of genuine integrity and happiness. Sometimes the most painful betrayals lead to the most profound growth. I share my story not to dwell on past hurts, but to remind anyone facing similar betrayals that you have the strength to stand up for yourself, to rebuild, and to thrive. Have you ever had to stand up for yourself when everyone underestimated you? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear right now. Like and subscribe if this resonated with you, and remember that recognizing your own worth is the first step toward a life where others recognize it too. Thank you for listening, and I wish you the courage to honor your value in every relationship.